In this video, I want to talk about processing of array in a code, like using array in a loop, passing array to a method, returning array from a method, and initializing the size in elements of array from a computer console. The for loop is often used in the processing of array elements. For example, I want to display all the elements of a specific array using a for loop. First, I want to create and initialize a string array by the name of, for example, countries with the initial values of some country's name, like USA, Japan, China, India, and Canada. These names will be stored in country array indices respectively. Now I want to display the value of each index in an output panel using a for loop. The variable that I want to use it for a for loop will be, for example, I. The initial value of it will be 0. And the loop should iterate while the value of I is smaller than this array size. In each iteration, the value of I will be incremented. The value of I will be start from 0 and it will be incremented after each iteration until its value becomes 4. Because the size of the country's array is 5, and according to the loop continuation condition, the value of I have to be smaller than this array size. So I can use the variable I for accessing each index of countries array respectively. I am writing countries and inside the square brackets I should write I. So using this statement, the value of each index will be accessed after each iteration of loop. I can assign this value to another variable, or I can print it directly using the println method. In this case, I want to print it directly. I don't want to assign it to another variable. So, in the first iteration, the value of I will be 0, and the value of first index of countries array will be printed. And after each iteration, the value of I will be changed, and the respective index will be accessed using it respectively. Now if I run the program in the output panel, you can see the value of countries array elements is printed. Java has a shorthand notation called for each loop for traversing arrays sequentially without using an index variable. This is the syntax of for each loop. First, I have to declare a variable. The type of the variable must be same as the type of the array element. After that, we have to use a colon symbol and the array variable name. For example, I can display all the elements of this array using a for each loop. So I'm writing a for keyword, and after that, I should declare a variable from a string data type because the type of this array is a string, and after that I have to use a colon symbol and the array variable name, in this case countries. Inside the loop body, I can use this variable as a println method argument for displaying the values of array indices. The value of each index will be stored in this variable after each iteration sequentially. Now, if I run the program in the output panel, you can see the value of countries array elements is printed. Now I want to create a method for displaying the array elements. I don't want to write the code for displaying array every time. Instead, I want to reuse the existing code. So the visibility modifier of this method will be public, it will be static, and it will not return anything. It will just perform the action of displaying array elements. So the return type will be void and the name of the method will be display array. It will take array as a parameter. The type of the array will be, for example, string. I want to use this method just for displaying the elements of string type array. Inside the method body, I want to use the for each loop for displaying the array elements. I can write for a string element and colon symbol. After that, I want to use this array or the method parameter in a for each loop. Inside the for each loop, I want to display the value of variable element using the println method. So the method is completed and I don't need this code for displaying the array elements. I can call the display array method for that. So I'm calling this method from a main method. It takes a string array as an argument, so I can use this array. Now if I run the program in the output panel, you can see I have the same result. For displaying an int type array, I want to create a new method with the same name as this method, but with a parameter of int type array. That is called a method overloading in a Java. When we have a different methods with the same name but with a different type, number, or order of parameters, it's called a method overloading. So I want to copy the implementation of this method and bring some changes in it, like changing the parameter to an int type array and changing the variable type in a for each loop to an int, because now we want to traverse the int type array. So our method for displaying the int type array is created. We can call it every time when we need to display the int type array elements. Now I want to create a method that will return an array. For example, I want to create a method that will return a string array. The size and elements of this array should be defined using the input values from a computer console. The visibility modifier for this method will be public. This method will be static and it will return a string type array. So I have to write a string and after that 2 square brackets. The name of the method will be, for example, create array, and it doesn't need any parameters. Inside the method body, first of all, I have to display a message for asking the value for array size. So I have to use the println method with a message of enter the size of array. For getting the value from a computer console, I have to use the scanner class object. The object name will be, for example, scan. Now I want to use the next int method of scanner class for reading an integer data from a console. I should assign the data to an int variable. The variable name will be, for example, array size. Now I have to create an array from a string data type with the size of this variable value. The name of this array will be, for example, string array. After that, I have to write a for loop for traversing this array. The variable that we want to use it for a for loop will be, for example, I. The initial value of it will be 0, and the loop should iterate while the value of I is smaller than the size of this array, or the value of array size variable. In each iteration, I want to print a message for asking the value for a specific index of string array. As you know, in each iteration, the value of I will be incremented, so I can use the I inside a message for representing the array index number. The message is enter the value for. After that, I have to use an addition operator in variable I, and after that the word of index. I is an integer, so we are not enclosing it inside a double quotation. and we use the addition operator for combining the string and int values. I variable can also be used for accessing each index of string array respectively. As I want to assign a specific value to each index, so I should write string array, and inside the square brackets I should write I, and after the assignment operator I have to use the scanner object next method for reading the string data from a console. Finally, I have to return this string array. The method is completed. Now we should call it inside the main method. So I'm calling it. As it's returning a string array, I can store it in an array variable. The variable name could be user array. So after execution of this program, the array size and elements will be defined from a computer console using entered data. If I want to display this array, I can use the display array method and provide this array as its argument. And now if I run the program, you can see first it is asking me for the array size, and after that it asks the value for each index of array. So I'm entering some dummy values like Java, PHP, MySQL, C++, and finally you can see our array is printed using the display array method, and it has our entered values.